Hello and welcome to this episode of the Diary of a Lawyer. And today I just want to quickly give an update on the ongoing matter of the so-called homosexuality bill that was passed by the Ugandan parliament. And Uganda, for those who might not know, is an East African country that neighbors Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Sudan, among the most proximate neighbors. A few weeks ago, the country's parliament passed a bill that essentially criminalizes homosexuality and um, escalated the penalties uh, associated with conviction of having contravened the bill. Among others, is the so-called aggravated homosexuality and also promotion of homosexuality. And among the penalties introduced were the death penalty as well as life imprisonment, among others. Now, today, or at least yesterday, the New York Times, I read today, the New York Times followed up on some of the impact of the on the specific individuals since the bill was passed, and it traced them to the neighboring country of Kenya, which is to the east of Uganda. And it made attributed statements to them, which, among others, were references to feeling that their right to exist was questioned and that there was fear or at least real prospects of violence against them. And so they had no option but to flee. Now, since then, the one of the most senior senators in the U.S. Congress, Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, has since issued statements or made comments, at least attributed to him by the New York Times, that I read today, to the effect that the United States should reduce or cut military aid and other programs such as health funding to Uganda, and it quotes the figure of over 950 million US dollars in aid to the country a year, I think. Now, furthermore, the country's executive has since issued some developments on the matter. It has referred the bill back to the country's parliament for what is been described as improving it, to allow provisions such as what they describe as room for amnesty or rehabilitation, quote unquote. And it also makes references to the psychological issues associated with the offenses of the bill, and whether that allows the improved version will allow that sort of room for amnesty and rehabilitation, quote unquote. I'm repeating the exact phrases used. Furthermore, there are other descriptions regarding the legality of the bill and references to clauses that may be found to be unconstitutional by the country's constitutional court, such as the last bill that was reportedly struck down uh, on the grounds that it was unconstitutional. And so they claimed that they wanted to make the bill stronger or tight to ensure that there's no such room for constitutional grounds to be held against the bill by the country's constitutional court. Now, among the other references to the potential aid cut is funding for the AIDS drugs under a program called PEPFAR, which is largely funded by the United States, but on which millions of Ugandans rely every day to for their health and their lives. So I think the concerns were that um, if that's true as alleged, is that the almost the reduction of that will most certainly lead to potentially irreparable harm to the health of those affected, or even worse. And so that is where the circumstances of the whole matter are in terms of totality, in terms of the impact on the individuals that the New York Times makes references to, even being neighboring Kenya, the reaction by the United States through statements attributed to Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, and as well as the referral back to the country's parliament to make improvements or tighter to allow um, room for quote unquote amnesty that will allow room again quote unquote rehabilitation, and as well as to make sure that there's no room for apparently um, the bill being struck down by the country's constitutional court for um, any unconstitutional matters. We don't get into the debates of either side. We just focused on the legal context in a very simplified manner, malleable manner, as easy to digest. So there we shall leave it on yet another episode of the Diary of a Lawyer. Thanks for listening, and speak again. Bye.